Hello and welcome to part 2 of my video series on how to play offlane. In this one, I'm going to be talking about the options. Now, options is not really something that people generally talk about, but since I'm going in depth, I guess this is going to be the last one before I talk about in-game stuff. Now, here you can see all my options. Um, let's start in the top left. I have the default QWERF setup, whatever you want to call it. You can change this if you want. I personally don't play with quick cast. If you hear people online tell you that you have to play with quick cast to become an 8K player, they're fucking wrong. Um, quick cast, obviously, if you can get used to it, is nice. If you can't, so be it. For items, I'm just using ZXCVBN. For me, this is just how I always played. It seems fine to me. The only complaint I really have is that N is sometimes kind of difficult to press. If you can come up with some hotkeys, as long as you're comfortable pressing all the buttons, that's fine. I always recommend having I think by default, the neutral item is not bound. Now, if you have no hotkey for the neutral item, it's kind of bad because things like Essence Ring, Clumsy Net, you want to make it as comfortable as the other items. In my case, I just make it mouse 3, which is my middle mouse click. It's very convenient. The neutral items generally they are not used as much, and a lot of the time you're going to have a passive neutral item. So you don't have to make it like a very convenient button essentially. TP, I just have T for TP, makes sense. Obviously, you can have quick cast on your items as well. I won't bother. A lot of people they play with Alt plus a key. To me, it's kind of inconvenient because I have to press 2 buttons. But if you want. Now, this next part is not so important. These buttons I very rarely press anyway. The next important option are these three. Some people like to have a select courier button. I generally don't. I just click in the bottom right. But I do have mouse 4, mouse 5 for quick buy and deliver items. This means that whenever I'm dying, I can buy out very quickly. I just spam the mouse 4 button. Whenever I want to deliver an item, I just press mouse 4, mouse 5. I highly recommend you set up these keys because having to click every single time to buy your item from the quick buy, having to click every time to deliver your items is a pain, especially in lane when you're trying to last hit and do things at the same time. Next, you have these things, which are unimportant unless you're OG and you like to spam. These are not very important as well. I don't play any micro heroes. Obviously, you can set things up, but I do have group 1 on 1. And what I do is I double tap 1 to select my own hero in game, and I'll show you that in a second. You can have some phrases here, I suppose. I have some chat wheel stuff if you want. Um, Now in here, pretty much I don't use many of these. Um, these are all pretty much just the defaults for me, so I won't talk too much about them. Here in the options, make sure that your auto attack is standard. I know some psychopaths have it on always or never. I find it really, really difficult to play it without on standard. Double tap ability to self cast is useful on like OD and Shadow Demon things for me. Teleport requires hold stop. I quite like this option. It means that you don't accidentally cancel your TP when you try to channel a spell after the TP. I think it's useful. If you don't need it, so be it. Right click to force attack. I like this option. It basically means you don't have to press A or whatever your attack key is to deny creeps. It's convenient for me. Um, I play with edge pan. Generally speaking, I would say that if you can get used to middle mouse, it's better than edge pan. It's gonna give you a lot more control in team fights. You'll see more, but I'm used to edge pan, so I'm just gonna play with edge pan. Hold select hero to follow is useful. For this part, I know some people they play like this, and it might seem convenient because now you see the faces of all the heroes on the map. There is one sort of downside to this, which is if you look at this current setup, you can see what direction each hero is facing, and this is very, very useful. If you look top lane and you see the enemy hero is just facing towards your lane when you're diving someone and they're standing still, you can make the assumption that they're TPing here just by looking at the minimap. If you have it on heroes, it's much harder to tell because the heroes don't turn, and you can't see if people are running away, you can't see if people are chasing your team. I just recommend having it like this, and then you press Alt to see the heroes if you really want. I use this thing, simple minimap background. I find this is very busy. It makes it kind of hard to see exactly what is going on. I know some people like to do the extra large minimap. I don't bother with that. I know some people make the the icon's really big. I don't really like it. Sometimes they overlap each other and it's hard to see what's going on exactly. Um, Display had names over health bars. Some people have hero names. I just prefer to have player names. I know what the heroes look like. Um, these are just whatever. I recommend you play with these two things on, even if you think you're really good and you don't need to see damage numbers and status text. It just helps you chain your stuns. It helps you last hit, yada yada, whatever. I play with colorblind mode on. Obviously, if you're not colorblind, then don't play with colorblind mode on, I guess. Social, whatever, right? Like, it doesn't really matter. If you are like some kind of hero spammer, I turn this off before you start playing, because the Overwolf will get you target banned. Everything else is fine. In video, this is something that people don't usually talk about, right? But I highly recommend you play with effect quality on high. Now, a lot of spells in this game, mostly the one that I can think of as a good example is Sandstorm on Sand King. If you don't play with effect quality on high, you won't see the exact AoE of the spell. With effect quality on high, you'll see like a little ring around the hero. Let me see if I can just give a quick example of this. So with effect quality on high, around the outlines of the sandstorm, there's going to be a little black ring, and that's the exact AoE of the sandstorm. So in this case, you can see it like this sort of black circle, right? Now, if I go into my options and I turn the quality down to low, and I recast sandstorm, you'll see that it's a lot harder to see exactly what the outline of the sandstorm is, right? Like, is it here? Will you be in range here? And if you have it on high, it just makes it a lot easier. It's the same with like March of the Machine and some other spells. You see, like this is very easy to see, specifically where the circle is. It's just a small thing, but small things can sometimes help. I have all the other options on because I have a good PC. Doesn't really matter. Audio, make sure that you have voice nice and high so you can hear what your teammates are saying. I have the music off personally, it doesn't matter. I have the unit speech off. I recommend you turn this on, um, so that the announcer will tell you when your tower's getting broken and things like that. Um, Pretty much everything else is whatever. Make sure you have a push to talk button, and I think that's pretty much it for the options. So starting from next one, we're going to be talking about specific in-game stuff. So bye bye.